brother. It's your brother vlogging. It's Monday, November 5th, 2012. Now I have a long section that I'm not quite sure of the content of because I taped it a couple of days ago and I can't remember what exactly I put in it. But it's on me walking to the grocery store and talking about something. I think it was politics. I think. Morning, brother. It's your brother vlogging. It's November 1st, 2012. And I'm off to do some grocery shopping and to take care of and get some new light bulbs and such. The Vlogbrother's most recent video, I believe that was on Monday, was taken from Vegas and was talking about gambling. Now, generally speaking, I think you know what my position on gambling is. It's pretty much summed up by what a friend of mine said in high school, that gambling is a tax on people who don't understand statistics. Vegas, you might know where I'm coming from with this. I'm not sure if I've ever told you, but I've never had quite an affinity for the Gap or places like Walmart because they feel far too artificial to me and unreal in a certain regard. I don't think that spending a bunch of time, hours on end, in a place that celebrates the artificial would be something that I would want to be a part of. The excess also in Vegas would probably drive me nuts. The idea that plates and plates and plates of food are constantly being thrown away because the casinos can afford to. It's that kind of thing that really disturbs me about society in general. Now, it's probably windy as all get out because it's windy out. What can I say? So this is the West Humber Park, and this is the path to nowhere. Like, goes down that hill. You can't really tell from the camera, but it's quite steep of a drop. I think that if you were to get on a bike and go down it, you'd be going pretty fast by the time you get to the bottom. My house is way back over there across that field. Of course, the wide angle makes the field look bigger. Well, brother, had some thoughts about political election systems, particularly when we're talking about the American system. Differentiation between the Senate and the House is good because the Senate essentially makes sure that underpopulated states get fair representation compared to large population states. Large population states get a lot of members in the House, where it's only 2 senators per state, which then brings up the question about what is the purpose of the presidency. Currently, the Electoral College system biases towards smaller states. So, if you have a smaller state, you get more per capita seats in the Electoral College. I did a graph of this, and it turns out that it's on a fairly linear line. The difficulty is currently is that there's no incentive for the states to get people out to vote because they get the same number of Electoral College seats if they have one person voting or if they have the entire population of the state voting. My thought was if you want to stick with the Electoral College system, that's fine, but have the number of seats allocated based off of the election turnout. If you have a low election turnout, you get less seats. If you get a high election turnout, you get more seats. But again, it's on diminishing returns, just like the current system per state. You would see various different states trying various different means to get voters out to vote. That, of course, is assuming that you want to stick with the American system. I rather enjoy the Canadian one. Michael Ignatieff talked about this a little bit. I think it was about an hour-long video I posted on my wall when he talked about the issues in the American political system of partisanship. How you want to have adversaries, but you don't want to have enemies. And the real question is how do you transition from one to the other? I.e., if you're in a state, well, I can easily see it going from adversaries to enemies. It's hard to imagine going from enemies to adversaries, where you literally hate the people that you're working with, you want to see them destroyed, to being in a position where you're happy and willing to compromise with them and are willing to go out and get a beer for them or with them. I think more for them if you beat them in the debate. Kind of a consolation prize. Tomorrow night is the American election, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all pans out. I'm pretty much certain how it's going to pan out. I'd be surprised if it doesn't pan out the way it does. You already know my position on it. I'm confident that Obama will win, Democrats will hold the Senate, and the House will go to the Republicans. And hopefully we'll see some more moderate Republicans, and we'll be able to get some more legislation going through the United States, so we won't be constantly seeing fighting and fighting and fighting over everything. In Canada, it seems that the Canadian-Chinese Free Trade Agreement that would have basically mirrored the American Free Trade Agreement, allowing Chinese companies to sue Canadian companies if there were any environmental impacts of Canadian governmental choices, has been delayed, at least for the time being. It could have been ratified a couple of days ago by Stephen Harper, but he hasn't done so. I think that's been because of public pressure, which is a good thing. All honesty, I think in general, when it comes to environmental issues, we need to have a kind of global standard. Doing a bit of research, I think I've determined what the vehicle was that we saw that they called a Panzer in Saving Private Ryan. I believe it's actually a Marder III, which was, interestingly enough, a French tank with the top taken off, and the barrel, the gun actually is a Russian gun because they had captured a whole ton of these Russian arms. They didn't have a lot of armor on the sides or back or top because it had to be light enough to be supported by the tank chassis. It's been quite the lively family conversation with regards to Christmas. I hope it ends up in a place where we're comfortable with our gift giving for this year. I like the ideas that people have proposed so far and would like to maybe sit down on the 17th to talk about that in more detail. Because I think that if we don't talk about it, then we won't actually get around to doing anything, or we'll leave it to the last minute and then nothing will get clearly done. For myself, I like Mom's suggestions of food. I'm actually quite happy to make a lot of food. It's something that I can make as an inexpensive thing and then just put it in mason jars. I'll be going and seeing the parents later on this week, and I plan on picking up some of my old mason jars and whatever mason jars the parents are willing to give me so that I can move forward with this particular idea. Anyway, I hope you're feeling well, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Yep, that's a squirrel with a freaking white tail.